Every now and then, you don't want to watch a big, complex movie, you just want a stupid popcorn movie. And I've found myself thinking the same thing with books now and then, and Black Friday by William Johnstone did just that. Published recently in 2016, Black Friday tells a story of a large-scale Islamic terrorist attack on a large mall on Black Friday when it would be at its most crowded. A small resistance group assembles within the mall, led somewhat by Iraq War vet Tory Lanning, and composed of a diverse cast of characters including a teacher, a wheelchair-bound World War II vet, a retired cop, a petty criminal, and several others. Right off the bat, I enjoyed the author's writing style. Many of the characters got to start out with their own chapters that went into basic detail of who they are and why they were going to the mall. Lanning, for example, was looking for an engagement ring so he could propose to his girlfriend, who went to the mall with him and was separated just before the attack happened. The retired cop was looking for new curtains for his dying wife. The criminal was just shopping with his sister and keeping an eye out for her. Once the attack starts, though, everyone comes together to defend each other, showing solidarity among Americans. All the characters were unique in certain ways, and it was easy to distinguish each personality from each other. However, the number of characters was still something of a problem. I think I get what the author was trying to do. By bringing all these people together from all walks of life, he was able to show that no matter what, Americans are able to come together in times of need to serve the greater good. Certainly a great lesson to have, but in doing so, the author went too far and created too many characters, so it became easier to keep track of people's personalities rather than their names. There were over 20 characters to learn about in the first half of the book, and with everyone coming and going, I lost track of who a few of them were. Some characters were introduced, then forgotten for a long while and felt tacked on. It was like the author had all these different ideas for characters he could use, and then rather than pick the best ones, he just used all of them. This made the book feel really thin at times because that was space that couldn't be used to develop other characters. As it is, only the more obvious characters stand out, like Lanning or the terror cell leader. Otherwise, it might help you to make a chart to keep everyone straight. Lanning gets more attention than anyone else, so he's the closest thing to a main character. He has combat experience in the Middle East, in which he was injured in one battle and lost all his squad mates to an ambush by jihadis. This colors his actions throughout the book, prompting him to quick, decisive action when the need arises. He's incredibly brave, rallying the other survivors and leading a counterattack against the terrorists, keeping them trapped inside. Written as he is, he's a little different from a standard Schwarzenegger or Bruce Willis character, but those types of characters can still be really cool. The terrorists are your basic Al-Qaeda jihadi types. They hate the West and always stand for and blah blah blah. They want nothing more than to watch us die. The attack is blown a little out of proportion just because of the numbers involved. There are around 100 terrorists who take over the mall, preventing the thousands of civilians from escaping and killing several hundred in a tremendous explosion and a hail of gunfire. This was perhaps the only part of the book that I'd call too far-fetched, because gathering that many terrorists for an attack inside our borders would certainly catch the attention of a federal agency or two. The terrorists are definitely not subtle, but then again, neither is the writer. For example, most of the book is set inside the fictional American Way Mall. Get it? Islamic jihadis are attacking the American Way. I'm sure you're all just bowled over by how clever that is. The general writing style is a pretty simple one. While the character work is pretty good, the prose was basic, laying things out just when they needed to be, but without any really clever revelations or plot twists or cunning plans by any of the characters. But it still had good pacing, and I felt the need to keep reading, if only to find out who would make it out alive. This book really feels like a loud summer blockbuster movie filled with explosions and mayhem, lacking anything substantial, but still not a bad time and easy to enjoy. And of course, where would a good action book be without combat scenes? There are several bouts throughout the book, pitting the terrorists against the Americans. Even though the characters are a little watered down, you still care about them and want to see them make it through. Besides, who doesn't like seeing a ragtag team of heroes conquering some oppressive force? Finally, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the very obvious political slant that this book and the characters have. With the author using Islamic terrorists, who often talk about how much they hate Americans, characters shrugging off political correctness as ridiculous, and members of the military being treated with the highest regard, there is a pretty obvious conservative slant. I'll keep my own politics out of this, and instead I'll say that it's a rarity to see something written with an openly right-wing perspective. This will be a deal breaker for some people and a huge win for others. Given the author's lack of subtlety, though, you will get scenes where people overtly talk about typical conservative topics. I think it would have been better if the dialogue had been a little more nuanced, and given how the dialogue had been written, it feels like the author went out of his way to include certain conversations. Still, if you can get past some of the flagrant talking points, you'll still get a decent popcorn flick out of this. There are a lot of things to like about this book, even if it has some notable problems. The action scenes are intense, some of the characters get enough development that you sympathize with them, and who doesn't like watching terrorists get what's coming to them? Even though the book is otherwise a basic by-the-numbers plot, I'd say it's pretty good. Not a bad time to be had for sure. So, have you read the book? What did you think? If not, do you want to read it now? Whatever your thoughts, comment below and stay tuned for more.